Hi, this is Sam Muir for UKE Magazine, and today I'm going to be guiding you through my chord melody arrangement of Poor Wayfaring Stranger. Now, this is a traditional tune, a beautiful song, and I do recommend that before we get going on the details of this arrangement, that you pause the video and look it up on YouTube and listen to a few different versions of this song, just so that you really get the tune in your ear. Okay, so obviously in this arrangement we're going to be playing the melody and the accompaniment as one piece, but it really helps that if you can identify the melodic notes as we go along, and I'm definitely going to be pointing them out to you. So this arrangement is for high G ukulele. If you've got a low G, that's okay. There's a couple of things that we'll need to change as we go along, but I'll try and remember to point those out. But I also recommend that you read my article on using fingerstyle techniques on the ukulele, because some of the techniques covered in that article we're going to be talking about today. So some campanella ideas and arpeggios, etc. Now, what else can I say before we start? So it's in D minor. The score itself is in notation and tab. It's for high G. If you've got a low G, no worries. There's a couple of changes we'll need to make, but I'll try and remember to point those out as we go along. I've written the chords in the top, but this is really just to give you a sense of the harmonic structure. So, and it's quite useful, I think, with some of the shapes. So instead of just reading, the tab for the first chord, for example, if you know it's a D minor, you don't need to look at each number to figure out what to play. But basically what you're going to do is either focus on the tab line, which I would recommend because there are some campanella moments in this, or the notation line if you like to read the notation. Okay, so just one line, you don't need to try and read everything. Okay, let's dive in. So what I want to do to start with before we play the whole arrangement is just to isolate the melodic notes for you. Okay, so to do that, we'll play through it together and I'll point out the melodic notes and do some counting. If you've printed this out, it'd be really handy if you have a highlighting pen, and then you can just put just a highlight over the melodic notes. So we're going to pick it up in bar 2. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, and now melody. Okay, hope that makes sense. Let's do that a bit better with the counting. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 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 and 2, 3, and 4, and, sorry about that, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, and a 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1. And that's bar 18, where the actual melody ends. And those last couple of bars, again, is just like this riff idea going on. So that would be, you can almost like think of it as in 2 parts. That would be a different ukulele. Okay, so I think that really helps with this song, because the timing is a little bit tricky, isn't it? But once you get it in your head, I think it makes more sense. Okay. So have a go at that melody first, and then come back to the full arrangement, and we'll add in the chords and the accompaniment. And I think that will help with the learning process. Okay, so you should have the melody firmly in your heads now, and it's time to add the chords, the accompaniment section. So we begin in bar 1, obviously, with a D minor chord, and we go to the A and back to the D minor. So this is just introduction, and you'll note that I'm using my fingers, my right hand fingers, to pluck the chords, and they're also very short and detached. The official term for that is staccato, and it's indicated by that little dot that you can see. I put it under the notation and the tab just so you don't miss that. So when I pluck the chord, I want all the notes to sound together as one, and then I stop those notes by putting the fingers straight back on the string. So it's a very clean sound. Okay, so it's beat 1, beat 2, the A, and then beat 3. I'm not worried about it stopping there. I want the notes to ring on, because I just continue with a little arpeggio at the end of the bar, and that takes me back to bar 2, and that's the short chords. And now at the end of bar 2, here we have the melody. And I begin bar 3 with this beautiful harp rolled chord. Again, I'm using my fingers, but this time I'm separating the notes. So you could do it also with the side of the thumb. That's a really nice harp sound, isn't it? Fingers also work. A little bit of arpeggio there, and then the C sharp, which I think is really effective in this piece. And now a little campanella for the melody. G, A, G. And here, if you've got a low G, you need to put those G's up an octave, so you're going to play them on the 3rd fret of the E string. Alright, so instead of finishing that bar 3 with the open strings, this is for low G players. Okay, and let's go on into bar 4. Again, melody, but notice how the notes are also part of my D minor chord, so I can continue with a little arpeggio effect. Now we've got melody, and now the G minor, but I'm not playing the B flat, I'm not playing the full G minor, I'm just playing 3 of the notes. Well, actually the G's are repeated, aren't they? But the G is my melodic note, so again the little roll accentuates the melodic note, and then accompaniment. Now melody with the hammer on. Okay, so you can see this is on beat 4 of bar 5. You can see the first note is the F with the first finger on the E string, and then the next note, which is connected by this little curved line, is a G, and that means that you pluck the first note and then you hammer on to sound the G. Okay, let me play, let's play bar 5 for you so you can hear it in context, and I'll go on into bar 6. So here we go, the G minor. And I was going to play on, but then I realised I do change my fingers here. So when I start bar 5, I've got the 3rd finger down on the G minor, and then when I get to the hammer on, I change to the pinky finger. Wasn't very effective, and that means it frees up my 3rd finger. Say that fast 10 times, so that I can get on to the D minor again. Okay, because if my 3rd finger's on this G, there's just a little bit too much going on for my hand. So I like to pre-plan that. So bar 5 again. Jumps nicely onto the D minor, and now melody. using the C sharp to create that kind of haunting, almost kind of spooky sound. Instead of, it should be, the melody is really the 2 Ds, isn't it? This is the end of bar 6, but I've got the C sharp hammering onto the D, and now I go into bar 7, back to D minors, A, melody, back to the D minor. This time I've got the 2 Ds as the melody, the G minor again, and now C natural, and I get to that with a pull off. Alright, so keeping the first finger down. For one thing, it keeps the F ringing on, so that I want to create this like really nice ambience of notes ringing on. I play, what is it, bar 9, the G minor. So I've got this nice continuity of the sound. If I take the first finger off the F, 2 things can happen. One, I'm going to stop the sound, and also on the ukulele it's really hard to release notes without getting that catch of the string. Alright, so that just does 2 things nicely for me. Keeps the sound ringing on, also keeps the string out the way, the E string out the way, because it's pressed down, so when I do the pull off, pluck the D, sound the C natural. I'm just getting this hand out of the way, so don't do that. It's just to show you on the video that I'm not re-plucking the C, but I'm effectively plucking the string with the second finger. Keep it in time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's taking us into bar 10, and my melodic note is the D. I want that to sound louder than my accompaniment note, so keep that A quite soft because it's higher than the D, so the theory nerds are going to go nuts because your melody should always be your highest note. But anyway, it's a ukulele, we can do whatever we want, right? So this is bar 10, and now after playing the melody, the D, I have the riff. Always wanted to use that word, so there's my opportunity. Tick that off the to-do list. Now the melody is going to take me up the fingerboard into 5th position, and I got to get onto a bar A. And unfortunately, sorry about this guys, it's only for like a bar, I think. We need a full bar A. Okay, so this is on bar 11. And I gave us an open A at the end of bar, towards the end of bar 10. So we've got time to get up the fingerboard, position the fingers, and bar 11, that beautiful B flat. And now the campanella melody. Now notice going into bar, what is it, 12, I didn't mean to stop that D. I'm going to do this little maneuver with my hands. I'm not going to keep the bar A on, but I am going to keep this finger down to some extent. But what I'm going to do is I'm going from this position, and I'm going to move the wrist to the side to make room for the second finger to slide underneath. And that means that my my A string is going to be open, and there's not going to be any risk of the first finger getting in the way of that. So if I just play from bar 11, I'll show you. We'll do that again. So there's plenty of time for that maneuver. If I go from bar 11, beat 3, and I maintain that position until 13, and then I come back to the bar A. And this time I've moved the C onto the E string. You could play it here again, but I don't know. For me, I quite liked that with it at the 8th fret there. So bar 13. And it also makes what's coming next in bar 14 a little bit easier to get onto, because the pinky finger, if I play the end of 13, is already on the right string. It wasn't meant to hit the 8, but anyway. So all I have to do is use my string as a train track to go from the 8th fret back to the 3rd fret for the bit more of the riff idea. Okay, so I'll play from, let me play from 13 so that you can see what I'm doing. Alright, it's quite a nice little maneuver. It's not a panic back to first position. You know, there's plenty of time to move. Got the open string, and it just lines up quite nicely, I think. So right on 14, there's those short notes, and then melody, and here we go, strummed chords, which I'm famous for. Not. But I thought now we're getting to like the climax, the kind of tensions building, so it's quite nice to have the strummed chords before we melody, G minor, and we're moving to the end. And there's the end of our melody, but no more riff. And what I'm going to do is maintain as much as possible that D minor shape. Okay, so that's bars 18, 19 and 20. Same idea repeated. And if I keep the D minor down, or there's a little bit going on, I can use the pinky finger for the G there for that little pull off. And then the next pull off is with the 3rd finger, the D to the open C, but I'm keeping 1 and 2 down. All right, so that means I'm maintaining the structure, if you like, of my D minor chord as much as possible, and then it's easier to get everything back on the strings. Good exercise for individual finger movement. Okay, it's actually a great exercise because it's like, ooh, got to keep, you know, certain fingers down, keep 1 and 2 down while you're doing a pull off with the 3rd finger. It's quite challenging, so you could use that as a nice little technical exercise. So when we get to the end of bar 20, we've got this repeat sign, and we go all the way back to the beginning, and let's just play through it slowly together without me constantly stopping. So Okay, sorry about the ending. I was kind of thinking about what I was going to say and messed it up, but that's okay. So what I was thinking was in bar 20, so we break a little bit from the riff. And instead of going to the C natural, we go to our C sharp, the spooky C sharp. And I end that way in the performance video. And I thought that was actually quite nice because it's fading away. I didn't do a very good fade out when I just played it now. But if you really fade and you perform this, the audience is going to be like really hanging on to that C sharp, waiting for it to resolve to the D, but because it should really go C sharp and then D, the resolution to the tonic. But I did it the other way around, and I think if you do it really softly, it works because in your head that it fills it in, doesn't it? So I don't know. I just thought that was quite effective. But you have to fade away for that to work. Okay, so that's the arrangement. I hope you enjoy it. I mean, you don't have to follow all my staccato and rolled things. That's just suggestions. You can make your own decisions about how you want to play the chords and whatever. But the important thing is to really, you know, have a sense of the harmonic structure, the chord structure, if you like, and then the melody. And the two things then come together, I think, really nicely, just to have the two voices. So I hope you enjoy it. And thanks for spending this time with me.